This week on the internet.
I love corn dogs.
I am the only one who can poop in this toilet.
K-pops make me angry.
Who is Lilly Tino and why has she suddenly been deemed TikTok's most hated influencer? Welcome to Trash Pickins, where we pick apart Hollywood's trashiest media and the internet's weirdest trends. Today, we're focusing on Lilly Tino. The controversy surrounding Lilly is complicated. Everybody has a lot to say about her, but it's all being lumped under the one label of problematic. But the thing is, that label doesn't tell us very much about her, who she is, or what she's done. This video breaks down who's upset, why they're upset, and whether all of the outrage surrounding her is really about harm, or is it just about our own discomforts? Should Lilly Tino be canceled? I'm Sarah, and today you've got just me for another internet deep dive down a weird, stupid rabbit hole that all of us wish we didn't have to learn about. But hopefully we can learn something, so let's get picking.
Today's deep dive, TikTok star Lilly Tino.
Lilly Tino, full name Lilly Tino, is a 32-year-old trans woman based somewhere around Florida or possibly San Francisco, who first rose to prominence on TikTok in 2023 by documenting her life as a trans woman. Lilly started her transition in May of 2021, and over the years she has chronicled her journey with hormone therapy, gender-affirming surgeries, and just learning how to present as femme in public. And her content resonated with a lot of folks, garnering her almost 430,000 followers on TikTok and up to 17 million likes. Her videos regularly get between 2 to 10 million views per clip, and she also regularly goes live with her audience by just simply chatting as she's eating lunch. Overall, in a nutshell, her account is basically about being trans, going through that transition, and learning to live in your new skin. But what separates Lilly from other trans influencers is that she leans into what I like to call radical visibility. It's not just about filming herself in public and existing as a trans person, but it's more about being in public unapologetically, meaning loudly standing up for herself if she's misgendered and not letting it go, to also embracing that she doesn't even necessarily pass. Her words, not mine. And all of these things are usually streamed live on her TikTok. And let's give credit where credit's due. Her content can be helpful and insightful as to what it's like to live as a trans person. But over time, her thought-provoking reflections became just kind of provoking in general. And now, in current day, Lilly has been criticized by everyone for the type of content she makes. Everyone from conservative religious folks to even other trans creators and members of the LGBTQ+ community. And while there are many, many criticisms of her, the overall criticism is that she's intentionally trying to create chaos in her videos. She's trying to intentionally incite arguments. She wants to be misgendered. She wants to play victim. And the criticism is that she's doing all of this for likes and attention. So overall, the claim is that her doing this is harmful. So we're here to ask, is it really? And I don't say that choosing a side. I'm here to actually dive into the criticisms of Lilly and find out truly what harm is being done. It's really easy to pile on and just hate someone that the internet is currently beating on. But the thing with Lilly is there's a lot of important topics of conversation that are surrounding her. And I think a lot of these topics actually should be taken seriously, beyond just bashing a TikTok influencer. So as a responsible consumer of brain rot and salacious internet drama and gossip, we are going to break down the 4 criticisms that Lilly commonly receives and take a deep dive into each of them and ask ourselves, what is the actual harm being done here? And if we want to help, how can we actually reduce that harm if it is happening? All right, first up, let's start with the most straightforward criticism, in my opinion. Privacy. Let me give you a little bit of background on this one in case you haven't been following the story of Lilly. One of Lilly Tino's main live stream activities is to go to Disneyland and vlog her experience there. She recently decided that she wanted to rate every woman's bathroom in Disneyland, giving commentary not on just the cleanliness or the decor, but also how accepting the environment felt to a trans person. And honestly, that's fair. Navigating public restrooms is a real concern for many trans people. But the criticism isn't about her just rating the bathroom. It's about what she decided to do in the bathrooms. And I just made that sound way worse than it is. Let me clarify. Lilly not only went to the bathroom and raided them, but she also took selfies while she was there. And unfortunately, sometimes there were other women and children in the background of these selfies. So while the selfie was focused on her, there were other people caught in the background. So for many people, this isn't about her gender. It's about privacy in a vulnerable space. Bathrooms are where people expect to be left alone and not recorded. So let's ask, is there harm in this? Yes, privacy in vulnerable spaces like bathrooms or locker rooms is a real issue. And it's important to bring up that this isn't a new issue specific to Lilly Tino. Take, for example, another very popular influencer, Joey Swole. If you know him, he's kind of a gym bro influencer who likes to spread positive messages about the gym, encouraging community and support. His main bread and butter is finding videos that people have filmed in the gym, maybe exhibiting bullying behavior, and he stitches these videos and calls them out and tells them they need to do better.
You need to do better. You need to do better. You need to do better.
And people love his content. So one of the things that Joey Swole actually does call out specifically is recording other people while you're at the gym. Many people like to film their workouts, and a lot of people are similarly, in Lilly's case, caught in the background.
You really couldn't wait till you got home to take this video, or at least until there was nobody in the background. I mean, you shouldn't even be filming in the first place. It literally says all over the walls at Planet Fitness, no filming, no photos in the locker room. But no, instead you intentionally set your camera up to film that man in the background of your video. Shame on you. People are so sick and tired of all this nonsense in the gym. I hope Planet Fitness sees this and they kick your ass out.
There was one incident recently where Joey called out a woman who recorded a naked spa patron. And he called her disgusting for it. And many of his followers agreed, saying that this was a felony. And the gym responded quickly by banning her, and legal action was even looked into. And the public completely supported this. So all this to say is that there is precedent for online communities already being upset about people filming in spaces that they shouldn't. It's not just Lilly. But let's remember, if your concern is truly about defending privacy, and it's not just reacting to Lilly's identity, then your outrage should extend to other examples like I gave with Joey Swole. If it doesn't, then we should ask, is it really about protecting people's privacy, or is it about who I think is violating my privacy? Either way, protecting privacy is a worthy cause, and I can understand why people are upset by this. All right, number 2. The next wave of criticism comes from a different angle, and this one's a lot more charged. Some conservative, religious, and protect the children groups have argued that trans women like Lilly Tino don't belong in women's bathrooms. In response to Lilly's bathroom videos, many women took to TikTok to share their own experiences. Some claimed they had even seen her in bathrooms at Disneyland, and gave out warnings that their impressionable children will be confused when seeing a trans woman in the bathroom, or claims that Lilly was intentionally lingering in the bathroom, assuming that she was looking for someone to take issue with her so she could live stream a fight.
As somebody who has personally witnessed Lilly Tino in a Magic Kingdom women's restroom, this is my take on the situation. There were several people noticeably disturbed by their presence.
I think it's absolutely appalling, and here's why. Walks like a man, talks like a man, pees like a man.
However, they don't really accuse her of any actionable harm, no description of threats or inappropriate behavior. It's more just that they didn't like the presence of Lilly being there. So let's ask the question, is there harm in this? No, unfortunately, these criticisms of her are rooted in transphobia. The fact that, as far as we know, Lilly has never done anything inappropriate to someone in a bathroom means that it's just the idea that by allowing a trans woman into the bathroom, it somehow means that she's going to use that access as a ruse to prey on children. And while of course, that could happen regardless of your gender, there has been no evidence to say that Lilly has done this. If that were happening, yes, the harm would be obvious. But in this case, it's not. Thankfully, studies actually show that there's no rise in assaults or voyeurism in inclusive bathrooms. In fact, 85 to 90% of sexual violence is actually committed by someone who knows the victim. So, not a stranger. And that's honestly really fucked up. So if the true goal and concern is to protect children, then support should go to organizations that actually protect them and advocate groups that actually help victims and address real abuse. But if the goal is to just get Lilly Tino out of bathrooms, then that's not really about safety. It's about targeting a specific person. And in this case, it will do nothing to reduce the number of children who are actually harmed each year. All right, on to the next one. Another group upset with Lilly Tino comes from a more family-oriented perspective. This time, it's specifically from parents, and especially people who perceive Disney as a child-safe space. Lilly has made several videos at Disneyland where she openly talks about gender transition and gender-affirming surgeries, including one that we've probably all seen by now, where she uses a corn dog as a metaphor to explain bottom surgery and the surgery she hopes to have on herself. And for many parents, that just crossed the line.
I think Disney's gonna ban me for this one. My corn dog is still intact. I'm not happy about that, but sadly it takes a long time to turn a corn dog into a inverted corn dog. They are going to take my corn dog, they are going to cut it down the middle. They will then take off the outer lining of the corn dog. Okay, I'm actually impressed that I'm doing this good of a job. Like so. Flip it inside out and make something of a tunnel. This tunnel will then become, well, you know, my hands are disgusting.
The claim is that this sort of content is just too mature to be in a place like Disneyland. And to be fair, parents absolutely do have a right to be concerned about what their children are being exposed to in public spaces. But we also have to ask, is Lilly sexualizing this content, or is she just existing as a trans person and attempting to use humor and weird metaphors in order to talk about her own experience, as strange as any of us may think it is? So let's ask the important question again. Is there harm in this? Maybe. I think this one's a little bit gray. Let me explain. So Lilly's corn dog video, for me personally, was actually kind of enlightening. I don't know too much about these types of surgeries, so it definitely gave me a visual, as kind of grotesque as it was. And stepping back, let's be fair, that's not inherently harmful, even if we find it kind of icky. In fact, it can be valuable visibility, which I think is what she claimed she was going for. But here's where I think it gets a little complicated and where I think most people lose the nuance. These explanations and demonstrations are often done using silly metaphors, foods, and playful analogies, and she usually delivers this while being decked out in Disney-themed gear, and she's at Disneyland while doing it. And no, I'm not concerned that children are going to overhear her and she's somehow going to ruin their minds, but it's much more nuanced. The result of her creating videos like that is a vibe that is overwhelmingly childlike, almost like it's something that would be in a children's picture book. And I'm not claiming that teaching children about anatomy or their bodies is a bad thing. And I'm also not saying that gender transition surgery is inherently sexual. It's not. But I am raising a brow at the choice to theme these explanations with filters, costumes, and locations that are all deeply associated with childhood. So let's step back and try to answer that. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Let's assume that Lilly did this completely subconsciously and wasn't intentionally merging these two things to rage bait. Even if that was the case, the choice to merge these childlike elements with these educational videos is still worth wondering about. Not necessarily because it is undeniable proof that she's sexualizing childhood, but possibly more as a strange expression of her own internal world. It might reflect how she is psychologically handling her own transition and how she's putting that in the context of her own life. It's actually pretty common for a lot of trans people to mourn for a childhood they felt like they never had, simply because they felt like they weren't themselves. And a lot of them don't get a chance to come out until later. So again, this could be a reflection of Lilly mourning for parts of her childhood where she wished she could have shown up as a young girl. Interestingly, another creator that received similar criticisms is the popular The Clean Girl. You might know her from her viral videos where she goes into a cemetery and cleans someone's grave without their consent. And while she does it for free, she's usually sporting pink dresses, pigtails, bouncing around, and using a baby voice the entire time.
Oh, her name means welcome in Espanol. Anita died on July 23rd, 1980. Her star sign is Aries.
My best friend is an Aries.
I wonder what Bienvenida's life was like. Does she like chocolate cupcakes? What killed her? This transformation is a lot of work. I might be here all night, but it's so fun.
And she has faced a lot of criticism that this childlike persona is infantilizing and disrespectful to the act that she's doing, cleaning a grave. Critics said that it trivializes the nature of death and it's very disrespectful to that of the deceased. The Clean Girl has clapped back and said that this persona is just part of her brand aesthetic. It's supposed to be a mix of hyper-femininity and nostalgic playfulness. It's not meant to be sexualizing or mock anyone. It's just how she likes to express herself. So whether or not you believe that's true, just like Lilly perhaps, the Clean Girl says it's not about being provocative and it's just about self-expression. So let's ask the question again. Is there harm in this? No one can definitively say what someone like Lilly or the Clean Girl's psychological relationship is to childlike things or acting in a childlike way. But if we give them the benefit of the doubt, we can ask, if this childlike aesthetic is supposed to be an expression of femininity, what does that say about how they perceive femininity? The idea that femininity is inherently childlike, soft, cute, helpless is something that a lot of women and feminists have been pushing back on for decades. And while obviously everyone can choose how to express their own gender, when anyone capitalizes on presenting femininity through baby voices, pastel colors, and little girl aesthetics, it can sometimes unintentionally reinforce stereotypes that women are dependent, fragile, or need guidance, just like a child. And like I've said, giving them the benefit of the doubt, while the intention may be personal expression, the cultural consequence could be a step back in how we define the strength of women and the maturity of womanhood. All right, the last wave of criticism comes from a complicated place, specifically within the LGBTQ+ community itself. And the criticism is, Lilly Tino is a rage baiter. Some trans creators and queer allies have accused Lilly Tino of intentionally rage baiting, meaning she's intentionally trying to provoke outrage in order to go viral. They argue that her approach creates bad optics for the trans community, giving trolls ammunition and reinforcing harmful stereotypes.
I'm back, baby. You can't keep me out of Disney. Marshmallow wands, cake pops, let's go.
How do I say this without being mean? When Lilly was like, I'm back, baby, it was giving the vibe that I don't think any trans woman wants to give. That's how I'm gonna word it. Lilly knows how to rub people the wrong way. Lilly knows how to wind people up effectively. As those videos start to go viral, it's almost like an addiction. Also, it comes down to this. I've spoke about it before, like Lily's making money on these videos, so she's getting 5 million views. We're talking a chunk of money.
So their concern isn't just about her content, it's about her strategy specifically. These critics worry that Lilly's over-the-top and controversial style makes advocacy harder for everyone, shifting the public conversation away from understanding and more just about spectacle. All right, here's our question again. Is there harm in this? Yeah, probably there is, unfortunately. Interestingly, Yale University actually did a study where they analyzed 13 million tweets, and they found that online content that expressed moral outrage was rewarded with way more likes and shares than a neutral or positive post. Sad, right? That obviously creates a strong incentive for creators, possibly including Lilly, to amplify controversial content in order to extend their reach. Yeah, shit posts are annoying, and they can definitely ruin someone's day, but let's figure out if there's harm actually being done or if our feelings are just getting hurt. Studies do show that rage bait contributes to the polarization online, and in extreme cases can feed into radicalization, and that is tangible harm. So, for example, if Lilly is intentionally blending childhood imagery with trans topics specifically to provoke outrage, then her content is designed to specifically reach and trigger audiences that already have a predisposition to distrusting trans folk, or just opposing them in general. By intentionally playing into harmful stereotypes, like that of the idea that trans people are deceptive or potentially predatory, rather than challenging those narratives, this kind of content can reinforce those exact biases that activists are trying to get rid of. And the problem here with rage bait is that oftentimes creators who do create rage bait don't want you to know that. It's not quite clear whether this is just Lilly existing as a trans person making people upset, or if she truly is playing it up and trying to make people upset. To be honest, it could be a mix of both, but we really don't know because we can't get inside Lilly's head. And that's why it makes conversations like this so difficult to have, because it really does walk the line of victim blaming. Obviously, we don't want to say a trans person who is a target of hatred is asking for or somehow causing it. However, we also hope that those trans people aren't intentionally reinforcing stereotypes that are harmful to the whole community. All of this tension with the LGBTQ+ community came to a head recently when Lilly was interviewed by a fellow trans creator named Mariah May on TikTok. And in this interview, Mara directly confronted Lilly, not just about the bathroom selfies, but about her entire approach. Mara criticized Lilly for stoking division at a time where she felt the trans community needs unity the most.
My content is too provocative. Let me just dial it down a little bit. My content immediately becomes boring. And the message you send out.
You think you only have something if you're controversial? I don't think that's true. I think we have the power to do a lot without like drawing the lines and like taking things as far as we can possibly take them.
See, I knew when I was taking those pictures in the bathroom that when people saw them, even people who say they are allies, internalized transphobia will be triggered. Right? Seeing a clocky trans woman in a bathroom is going to trigger some people. That's the point.
Literally trying to trigger people, though. That's a negative energy. You're triggering them in a negative way.
I mean, if thought-provoking art is crossing a line, then we just have a disagreement on what art is.
I'd like the opportunity to publicly apologize or take accountability for any of your actions or to anyone you've negatively impacted.
I'm gonna pass on this. I refuse to be someone I'm not. I am a clocky, confrontational, provocative person. That's who I am.
So all this is to mean that even if Lilly believes her tactics are truly helping the trans community, she also didn't feel like the concerns about privacy, regardless of her gender, were valid. Lilly didn't see this as a misstep that she had to learn from, but instead, she perceives this as a hill to die on. And as all of this controversy has continued to swirl, Lilly actually came out and decided that she's taking a break from social media, as I probably would too if I was in her position. In her farewell video, where she announced that she's stepping back from TikTok, Lilly did show some reflection. She admitted that over time, her content did become more intentionally controversial, and that she didn't like the direction that things had gone.
My content has taken a bit of a shift. I am deeply hurt because of the amount of hate that I've gotten. That hurt has influenced the way that I do things. As a content creator, especially as a streamer, I'm always on camera, talking all the time, daily updates about where I'm at. And I think that the hurt that I feel has influenced the way that I've, in my content, to be confrontational and be in your face about what I'm trying to do, which is ultimately, hopefully, make for a more accepting world. But I don't want the hurt to be a part of it. I'm always going to be a confrontational person, but I think there's ways to do it that are not channeling the anger I feel at the world for hurting me.
So while she didn't apologize for any specific actions, she did recognize that the way she played the game did change her, and she's not necessarily proud of that. So that concludes the 4 major criticisms about Lilly. And now that we've come to the end, we can ask, what did we learn? We learned Yes, Lilly did do some objectively shitty things. But we also learned that, yes, Lilly is facing a lot of transphobia. And you know what? As difficult as it is for the internet to accept, those two things can coexist. And in Lilly's case, they are. And sadly, when the two of them blend, it makes the conversation surrounding her very difficult to have and to weed through. I agree. It is important to ask ourselves, how do we feel about influencers like Lilly Tino? Maybe you think it's shallow for influencers to chase likes and attention. Maybe you're actually just personally outraged by her content. Maybe you hate corn dogs. But when we start calling for someone to be canceled or erased from public life, it's more important to ask, is canceling them truly about harm reduction, or are we just trying to regulate our own discomfort? And to be completely clear, I'm not saying we need to be careful about who we cancel because it might be unfair to them and hurt their feelings. I honestly don't care about influencers' feelings, nor do I really care about the people who are outraged. The only feelings that we should care about and prioritize are those of the people who are actually being harmed. In the conversation surrounding Lilly Tino, subjects such as child abuse, trans rights, public safety come up constantly. And within each of those subjects, there is a very clear victim. So if we're going to all agree that we want to go on a moral crusade against an influencer, let's make sure we're doing it not just to serve our own discomfort because we don't like seeing them in our feed, but because we actually want to do something to protect, in this case, children that are actually being abused or trans folk that need support. Because going to war over something that just feels bad should not be conflated with actionably reducing harm. And honestly, it's just a waste of energy for all of us. In the end, I hope that all the outrage surrounding Lilly can get channeled into a place that actually makes a difference. And I hope that Lilly is able to take her time away from social media to reflect on what she wants her journey to look like in the future and find a way to channel her efforts into a way to protect the community that she's a part of and that she loves. And with that, that's a wrap on Lilly Tino. We'll see what happens next. I'm sure it's not over. Thanks for sticking around. Hope you learned something. And make sure to like and subscribe. See you next time.